Good morning and happy Saturday, you guys. It is Amanda and Barron with Kickin Cancer Cares on KSLM Radio, 104.3 FM and 1220 AM. Our sponsor for this first half is Oddmo's Pizza, and they just won Best of Willamette Valley Gold
Again.
for pizza. Absolutely amazing. I'm so glad they won that because they truly are the best. And then they won silver for the best wings. So if you guys have not tried their wings yet, it is phenomenal. I am going to read off of one of their pizzas, and it's the lineman combo. I'm choosing that one because my son's going to lineman school. And this one has salami, pepperoni, fresh mushrooms, red onions, black olives, green peppers, Italian sausage, green beef, mozzarella cheese, and their red sauce. What would be really good is if you did their white garlic sauce with that one too. Oh.
Easy to change it up.
Oh my God. Yes. Oddmo's Pizza is phenomenal. So you guys go grab lunch. Go grab Oddmo's Pizza.
We love Mike. He's been such a great supporter
he's
for
phenomenal.
us from day one.
He really is.
So, last week's show, we had Sarah Matson in here.
Yes.
And we were talking about traumas that occur earlier in life and how we can hang on to those traumas and figure out how to release those traumas.
Yes.
What was your big takeaway from that conversation?
I think you put me on the spot here, but I think my most favorite thing that she had talked about was when she did those retreat things.
Yeah.
And just kind of the meditating and letting go and the things that when she let go, the things that came in and just the higher power that she felt and just that there is a higher power and it is okay to let go and just to meditate and feel all the feelings.
Yeah. Yeah, It was a really good episode.
Yes, it was.
Well, we have two wonderful guests with us today. We have Monica, sorry. I don't know where Morgan came from. We have Monica and Amanda, and we're going to get deeper into how they're involved with our current Go Team.
Okay,
but
perfect.
I want to make sure I recognize them with the right name.
It's fine. I've been called worse, so it's fine.
One thing we've been doing, ladies, is we've been going through this magazine called 100 Disease-Fighting Foods. And this week's food's very interesting. Tart cherry juice.
Oh, I don't know about juice, but I know cherries.
Well, interestingly enough, it says all cherries are anti-inflammatory.
Okay.
Thanks to their phytochemicals, but tart cherries are particularly good at keeping pain and swelling away.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Studies show that this drink cuts muscle aches after exercise. It helps prevent gout flares.
Oh.
Have trouble sleeping, tart cherries are a natural source of melatonin.
Okay.
And other phytochemicals that can help you get better and deeper night sleep, according to research.
Okay. All around superfood.
Drinking tart cherries can also lower your cholesterol levels.
Okay. So you're going to get me some cherry juice.
Cherry juice.
You were saying cherry and pomegranate juice. That's right. Okay.
Combining the cherry. Well, we did pomegranate sometime back, and combining those two together, really effective.
Just a powerhouse.
Yeah.
Okay.
And a fun update, which is actually going to be happening probably in about an hour and a half, is the Dragon Boat Race.
Oh, yes, that's right.
So this will be the second year. Scott Mills, who was a guest before, this was kind of an idea he had a number of years ago to do a Dragon Boat charity race. And over the years, he kept doing it. And then he and I thought, well, why don't we do one between two boats?
Right.
We actually had 3 boats last year. And we'll have 3 boats again this year.
Okay.
So it'll be his boat, which is for for a hospice group, Beloved Hospice, and there will be an Alzheimer's group.
Okay.
And then there will be our group, and all 3 of those boats will be racing at about 11:30 or 12 o'clock today down at Riverfront Park.
Okay. Best of luck to you.
I know. We won last year, so we're trying to keep that title.
Keep the momentum going.
Keep momentum going. For Ashley will be on the boat. The people from Oddmo's will be on the boat. A number of people are going to be on the boat.
Yes. Awesome.
So,
okay.
And there's still time if somebody would like to make a donation towards our boat. All 3 of these boats are charity boats. And so you can make contributions to all 3 of the boats for the causes that they're all representing.
Okay, perfect.
So that's our big update for today.
Awesome.
Well, we're going to get into some information about a specific childhood cancer. And we had a guest probably 2 months ago that came in and talked about rhabdomyosarcoma.
Okay.
You remember that conversation?
Vaguely, yeah.
Rhabdomyosarcoma is a soft tissue cancer. And it can be anywhere in the body. Interestingly enough, childhood cancer, according to the National Cancer Institute, hits about 1 in 285 children per year in the United States. the number one cancer that is hit by kids is blood cancer. Number two is brain cancer. And number four, at only 7%, is this rhabdomyosarcoma.
Okay.
So it's a very rare childhood cancer. Again, these are very high level looks at this particular cancer, but it comes from the National Cancer Institute. It says that it is a tissue in which malignant cells form in muscle tissue. A sign of the rhabdomyosarcoma is a lump or a swelling that keeps getting bigger. And that's going to play in here in a few minutes when Amanda talks about what happened with her daughter. It could occur at a couple different places. It can be in the muscle. It can be in a connective tissue, like a tendon or a cartilage, or it could be in the bones. Now, what's interesting is there's a couple of different types of childhood cancers. The one that Elena's dealing with is called, if I'm saying this correctly, embryonal. This type occurs mostly in the head and neck area of the body, and it can occur anywhere in the body, but most common it's in the head and neck area. So we're going to talk a little bit about this rhabdomyosarcoma and how it has kind of affected a family locally.
Okay.
So I do want to introduce both of these ladies. Amanda's the mom.
Okay.
And what's intriguing is we have Ricky on our board that lives out in the Staten area. And you had gone in to put some things out, not the mom. Mom hadn't gone in, but Monica, you had gone in to put some things out for her. Can you kind of tell us what you were doing and how that connected to the organization?
Yeah. So, once we found out what was going on with Elena, as a family member, it felt like you just feel helpless. What can I do to help, And obviously nothing on the medical front. And so just making sure that Amanda and her family knew that myself and my husband, who's Amanda's brother, Mark, that we're there for her and her family no matter what. But, obviously this is very taxing. Cancer is, especially, for them financially. And so what can I do? That was my first thought. So I started making these bracelets. Oh, what a loser. I'm not wearing one today. I literally just took it off. But we just started making a bunch of bracelets, and like purple's one of Elena's favorite colors. And then gold is for childhood cancer. So we just started making a bunch of these little bracelets, and my mom jumped in and we made hundreds of bracelets. And then it was like, well, how can we get the word out? And of course I tried Facebook and TikTok even, and just trying to get the word out there. And then, there's a gal named Kelly. She owned Naked Cat Coffee, which is now Sandy Am Coffee in Staten. And she's a extended family member of Amanda. And so I was like, hey, how do you feel about me bringing some bracelets? I've got some stands, and we can take a picture, put a picture of Elena and her GoFundMe out on there and just see what happens. And she was so kind to allow us to bring that to her storefront. And so that's how I guess Ricky came up to that coffee shop, and she's a regular there, and saw Elena's bracelets and story, and that's how the connection with Kickin Cancer started.
Yeah.
Okay. That's awesome.
Ricky then connected with you, and she went ahead and went to our website. Once again, go to kickin-cancer.org, the spot that said request help. And she clicked the button for request help and sent the story in. That's what was going on. And so then we reached out and said, well, what can we do? How can we be of support in the situation? It worked out really well that Pacific Stair, who's done a golf tournament the last 2 years, they always want the funds from their golf tournament to assist somebody locally. And so that's we'll talk more about that in the second half, but we thought, well, this would be a great opportunity for us to keep some funds local through this golf tournament. So then I sat down with Monica. We began to talk about a strategy to put into place for this whole thing to happen.
Okay.
But then I thought, well, I need to find out what's going on with the family. So I sat down with Amanda to talk about it. So Amanda, take us back to last year. You were telling me the other day that it would have been like last summer that something wasn't right.
Yeah, so we just noticed that on the outside of her lip, it almost looked like a cold sore or something. And we took her to the doctor, and my primary doctor said, let's get her to the dentist and figure out what it is. Basically, like, it was no big deal. Everybody made it seem like no big deal.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm like, not panicking.
Yeah. How old is she really quick?
She was 7 when all this happened. She
Okay.
just turned 8 in December.
Okay.
So
And her name's Elena.
Elena.
Mm-hmm.
So she, but I got her into the dentist. We did an appointment. They sent a referral, or they were supposed to send a referral in, and never got that referral, and had to call the dentist again to get back in, and they said that they wouldn't send in another referral unless we came in and saw them. So I had to wait for a doctor's appointment or a dentist appointment.
Again.
And it was just like this huge waiting game, like
Mhm.
over and over again, referral. So then she finally got a referral to a surgeon up in Portland. And while I was traveling for work, my husband took her in just for a consultation, and they said, we can remove this right now. We can just get it out. And it was at this point, it was probably about this big.
Oh, wow.
So it started
the
with a small cold sore.
It started like right here, just tiny. And then by the end of it, it had grown in the back of her mouth,
Wow.
and it was about that big.
Wow.
And that was how, time frame wise?
It grew that big in probably a week or two.
And we're talking probably what your looks is like a golf ball size.
Yeah, it was like in her mouth. And
Yeah, for those that are listening, you do want to go to YouTube and go to Kickin Cancer Productions, and you'll be able to see some images that are popping up of what's going on here. But and it's also backs up what it says in here, because it says that quite often that it begins to is a lump, and it swells and it keeps getting bigger.
1 week.
But that was
that's a
fast.
Very
It was fast.
and I was on the phone. I was like, no, you guys, I got to get in. I need to see somebody. There's something wrong. So when we went in and saw the dentist, like, back up a little bit, he still was like, not that big of a deal. We'll get you a referral. So I was calling everywhere just trying to get this referral, like who works with my insurance. And then, like I said, I was traveling for work, and my husband was able to take her, and they removed it.
No concern.
No concern.
At this point at all from
No,
anyone, the
we're-
doctors, nothing. They're
No,
like, yeah, we'll just
didn't
take it
run
out.
any tests.
No,
No,
not at that
before.
point.
And so we're thinking, me and my husband were like, okay, done. We
Little
don't have to
fist or
worry about it.
something. Life goes on.
That's what we thought.
I'm
Like,
actually really surprised that when it went from so small and grew that much in such a short time, that they did get concerned.
Agreed.
yeah, the whole situation was very tedious, and trying to talk to so many people and playing the phone game, and
Well, there was just no sense of urgency.
there was no urgency. There was
Yeah.
no urgency. I also didn't think it was that big of a deal.
Well, we trust the doctors.
We trust the doctors,
They're,
yeah.
they're the ones that go to medical
Sure.
school and they're the ones with the brain.
They're the ones that would know if something was concerning, and then we go off their lead.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right.
And that's just
So that's just not what happened. So after they did after they removed it, they did do a biopsy.
Oh yeah, they did the biopsy. Then my husband calls me and he said, "You need to get Elena in for blood work." And I said, "Why?"
And this is still last year.
This is October of
October
last
of
year.
last year.
And I was like, "Why?" And he was like, "The dentist surgery guy just called, and you is showing blood disease, and so we need to get her blood work done." And I was like, "What is blood disease?
what does that even mean?
What does that mean?" I literally,
So
I
the
had to.
biopsy showed blood disease.
Yes.
Okay.
That's where this all started, and I'm like, I don't know what blood disease is, so I'm googling it. I was like, "Oh, okay."
Which is like the worst thing to do.
Yeah.
That's a really big deal. Okay,
Yeah.
so I called my doctor. My doctor's having all sorts of issues, but we got her in to get the blood work done. The blood work comes back and everything's looking kind of normal. So
From the blood work.
from the blood work. So we're still okay.
Everything's fine.
And then they had us come in for a follow-up at the surgeon, and they told us that she had cancer.
Wow.
They were like, "Yeah, she has rhabdomyosarcoma. You have a referral to Dornbecker's." And
It was a whirlwind. At that point.
then yeah,
It was just a couple weeks and she was on chemo.
I was in it was the end of October that we found out that she officially had it, and then they put in a report, started chemo. It was like everything just happened so fast.
So what's intriguing to me is they removed this and they did a blood test and they didn't notice anything initially. But the delay in getting to even remove it seems odd.
Yeah.
It takes so long to even get it removed. So they did remove the lump,
The initial.
but the cancer wasn't gone.
No.
And that's the concern, is the cancer's not gone. Now you were telling me that they actually started some radiation as well.
Yep, she went through 4 weeks of radiation every day, or 5 days a week. And they did that on a lymph node and on her cheek and her jaw.
And they did that because they determined that they couldn't remove the rest of the cancer in her mouth, that it was inoperable. The margins weren't right. And so
the biggest chunk was gone, but not all of it was gone.
Right. And I think a lot of it had to do with the location of it being so close to the jaw. There wasn't enough room to have enough margins to go in and do that and make sure that it was all removed. So they needed to hit it with the radiation. So she had already been doing chemo since November very regularly, every week, sometimes 5 days a week. And so they were spending a lot of time up there for that. And then they're like, okay, we need to add the radiation on top of the chemo as well. And when did she have the radiation? It was for a month in Jan.
It was between February, March.
Yeah.
And we stayed up at the Ronald McDonald House because we had to. But the radiation's over.
So last year they cut it out, but they didn't realize it was cancerous.
We didn't know it was cancer.
Didn't know it was cancer, and that's about October. And then they start doing some radiation to make sure it's not spreading. It's not progressing past that. And that occurs early this year, right? The radiation?
That occurred earlier.
Early this year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how many times did you guys have to go up to Dornbecker's during this time period?
Oh, a couple times a week while we were trying to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When the chemo started, I mean, like, obviously to prepare for chemo. So they were up there multiple times. And then chemo, she's on a schedule for 1.5 years of chemo. And there's something every week, and sometimes sometimes 5 days a week. So they're up there all the time.
How is she dealing with it all?
I think for her, the biggest struggle is she wasn't sick.
Right.
She wasn't sick, and now she's sick, and chemo's making her sick. And so for an 8-year-old, that's really hard to get her to understand. But she's doing a little bit better. She's mentally getting a little bit to be in a better place. I feel like her body's getting used to the chemo, which sucks to say.
Well, and the hard part about this particular cancer is that it's not painful. And so she didn't realize she was sick. She didn't realize there was a problem going on, right?
Right.
And that would have been last year that you were dealing with that and not knowing there was anything going on. And even after you take the cancer out, you still know there's anything going on.
No, we had no idea.
Yeah. And I think, too, that the fact that it's upset their daily life so much that's hard for the whole family to comprehend, but especially how does an 8-year-old comprehend that?
How does an adult comprehend
Right. Yes. And then to ask a child who has no coping skills to learn how to live with that. And that brings a lot of anxiety for Elena and for the whole family, because then she's super sick. She can't take the medication she needs to take so that she doesn't feel sick all the time. And they end up having to put a G-tube in so they could at least administer her medication, and then nutrition just in case, because she was losing weight rapidly because she's not eating. And then it has to do with her mouth, which,
Yeah.
So it's just been it's a daily struggle.
Is the chemo and radiation working?
We have a PET scan and an MRI on Thursday.
Okay.
So we don't.
We'll keep you in our prayers.
Yeah.
So this is the first scan after radiation. So
yeah, that's
a
big
big
deal.
We're really, really hoping for
good news.
Yeah,
We need it.
absolutely. Do you know what stage she was?
She was, they considered it intermediate risk because they couldn't surgically remove it. And this kind of cancer isn't stage like 1 through 4, it's in groups.
Okay.
So they considered her a group 3 out of 4.
Yeah.
Okay.
In other words, because your stage refers to risk level, whereas with a grouping, you're looking, this is an intermediate risk as opposed as a high risk. Is that what I've heard you say? Yeah.
They originally were hoping because they caught it so soon, or we thought we did, that it was going to be a low risk.
Right.
But
That wasn't the case.
it wasn't the case. So instead of 6 months of chemo, we're a year and a half
Yeah.
of chemo.
Okay.
Has it affected any other parts of her job?
No, not that I can tell. She's doing really well. Honestly, she's doing quite a bit better today than she was 3 months ago.
Good.
But it's just a process.
It's still difficult
Yeah.
and a big toll on the family.
Amanda's got a kid that went through some childhood situations, so she can somewhat relate to your
sorry.
your story.
I'm really sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, Elena has 2 older brothers, so it's taxing on everybody that's there, and you know,
the whole family's affected by the situation.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So how often is she currently going up right now to OHSU?
Every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday. Okay.
And then sometimes like last week, we just did a 5-day chemo, so Monday through Friday.
Okay.
And tomorrow, I believe we're admitted. And then that'll be her big chemo. Next week is a 5-minute chemo, like just a
It's just-
quickie.
yeah.
It just rotates.
Yeah.
So, but pretty much every Tuesday.
Okay.
So just for my understanding and maybe for the listeners, what's the difference between doing the 5-minute chemo and then the once a day for 5 days? Why do they distinguish between the once and then the 5 times a week? What's the difference there?
It's just the 3 different medications that they had to use for her and the way they have to administrate it.
Mhm.
So the week-long chemo is, it has to be administered 24 hours within each other. So the appointments are always like right.
Overlapping.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then when she gets admitted, we have to, after we bring her home, we have to give her a shot at home that helps bring all of her counts back to a decent place, hopefully.
Right. Yeah.
And then these little 5-minute chemos, which are still like a 4-hour appointment once we go up there.
Right.
Those are just a smaller dose, and they usually don't make her sick. It's
Okay.
the 2 other ones that are
Totally on her.
completely.
Yeah.
And you guys probably, how has this affected your guys' work life?
Oh, completely.
Yeah.
Completely.
Yeah. How do you work when you're,
I took a leave of absence, and they've been super great.
that's awesome.
But I'm back to working and constantly trying to figure out how to split your time between your kids and your work. And
Right. Because financially you have to still make your world
Right.
go round.
Right,
Right.
absolutely. You have to. And is it enough?
Right.
Right.
Right. Are you doing the right things? Are you
Yeah.
not? Is it, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and
Always
how
ask
do you
questions.
focus on work when you know what's in the other room
Right.
or what you have coming up later that day or that week? I mean,
Yeah.
it's very hard to concentrate, I'm sure.
Yeah.
At least you have family here that can help out
I
with
do.
it as well.
How long did you work for KinderCare before this happened?
Not even a year.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So you were brand new at the job
Yeah.
when they found out about it.
And you guys, their support for her was just otherworldly.
Yeah.
Like,
That's
truly.
amazing.
They were like, nope, we're here for you. What can we do? You know, just like encouraging her to take time off, covering her. I mean, it's been so
And I've
amazing.
never had a job like that where I've been able to choose my family over my work.
Right.
Never. So when they all my entire team just stepped in, they were doing visits for me and they were helping my workload so I could just be with Elena.
Mm-hmm.
And even now that I'm back, almost everybody's reached out and said, whatever you need,
Mhm.
you know,
Yes,
you
yeah.
let me know and we will help you.
Yes,
So-
absolutely. I love that.
So
Okay.
deep
Well-
breath, Amanda, deep breath.
Okay, I'm going to give a huge shout out to our sponsor, Oddmo's Pizza. They just won Best Willamette Valley for their pizza and their wings. If you guys have not yet tried them, they're amazing. I mentioned the lineman combo earlier, but I love their Reggie Veggie and their Green Monster on cauliflower crust with their white garlic sauce. Oh, it's so good. It's to die for. So huge shout out to him. Without Mike, we wouldn't even be able to broadcast this episode. And so he's been with us since the very beginning.
He was our first sponsor for the show.
So huge shout out to him. He's an amazing guy. I just seen him at the Best Willamette Valley event, and it was awesome seeing him and his wife there. All right, guys, we'll be right back. Stay tuned.